Hi, this is Ned Siegfried from Siegfried & Jensen. As proud sponsors of BeliefCast, we hope you are inspired by Todd's weekly podcasts, which contain so many courageous stories of recovery and personal growth. Remember, it's not what happened in the past that matters, it's what happens in the future. We invite you all to work hard and be optimistic about your future. Enjoy today's podcast.
Hey everyone, this is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires BeliefCast. Welcome to the You're OK Mental Fitness Studio. I would like to thank our sponsors, Ned Siegfried, Luke Peterson, and Todd Bradford with Siegfried & Jensen, Mark Richards with Wasatch Recovery, Colby and Mackenzie with Thread Wallets, Drew Peterson with First Digital, Greg Jackson with Mountain West Spine and Orthopedics, and Travis Whitaker, the owner of Living Recovery Interventions. And also, I'd like to give a shout out to Paul Cardall. The music that you hear at the beginning and the ending of these episodes is by Paul Cardall. He's an amazing person, and he's been one of my heroes for years. So thanks to all my sponsors and Paul Cardall for believing in me. I love you guys so much. Please enjoy this next episode. Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires BeliefCast. Thank you for tuning in week after week. Again, I can't tell you how much I appreciate all your support and love and, sharing these amazing stories of these amazing people that come on this podcast. It truly is a blessing, and my gratitude for you. I just want you to know how much that means to me. I want to thank our sponsors for your support, and also Paul Cardall for that beautiful music that you just listened to, and you'll hear that at the end. He's a good friend of mine, and I'm grateful that he allows me to use his music. Today we are joined by Garrett Blood. What a cool last name, by the way.
Thanks.
I like that. Blood. I like that. Garrett, a little background on Garrett. He created and owns his own company called Kajae Premium Staff Augmentation, right?
Yeah.
Where you specialize in connecting clients with top virtual professional assistants. Your number one goal is to take individuals in developing nations and move them out of poverty into the middle class within 60 days.
Yep.
And we're going to get more into that. I can't wait to hear that. You grew up in Orange County in San Diego. You started your first company at age 9 and sold it at age 12 to a business owner in his 30s. I can't wait to hear that story. And, you have 5 children. You have all these kind of hobbies. You really take good care of yourself, and you're doing a lot of good in this world. And there's so much we're going to get into, but thank you, Garrett, for being willing to come here and share a portion of your story with us.
Absolutely.
Means a lot to me.
Yeah. No, thanks for the invite. I love coming down here and having a conversation. It's terrific.
Yeah. So talk about just growing up and a little bit about your childhood in California.
Yeah. Growing up in California, I always say there was no better place than California in the 80s, in the early 90s. It was a great place to live before the dark times, to use a Star Wars analogy here,
right.
Before taxes, traffic, and politics kind of took over and ruined the state.
Yeah.
But growing up in Orange County, it was a fun time, but yeah, I enjoyed it. Close to the beach, perfect weather, and then I lived in California about 33 years before finally throwing in the towel.
Did you surf? Were you a surfer?
I was a big bodyboarder.
Okay.
So I probably didn't have the balance to be on a surfboard on a regular basis, but bodyboarding, that was my jam. That's what I love to do.
Well, so, starting a company at age 9, I don't even know what I was doing at age 9. I think I was still playing with my G.I. Joe, or I don't know. So how did that come about? And talk a little bit about what that was.
Yeah. A lot of people have they cut lawns, for example, or they babysit or something like that. But at age 9, I had an uncle that was a professional window cleaner. And so I saw him doing it once, and I said, hey, I'd love to learn how to do that. And so I started working with him and got fairly good at it, to the point where then I started going out on my own and finding residential, commercial, and industrial clients that I could start doing their windows on a regular basis. And it was a good way to pay for some of the things the niceties of life that I wanted. And but at the same time, I wanted to save money and just different things I think I probably learned like in Boy Scouts, for example. At the time it was Cub Scouts. But and so started out and over time had about 60 clients that I was regularly servicing on a regular basis. Wow. And starting to kind of just make some good money. I mean, I remember I'd make between $20 and $30 an hour back in the
at
early
age 9.
late 80s,
incredible.
early 90s, and so it was great, and it was a huge motivator.
Yeah.
And then my parents, and I came from a pretty affluent background for a while. People used to say like my parents were kind of jet setters a little bit.
Right.
And but along with that, my dad kind of fell into some bad habits. Mm-hmm. I think there was some addiction components there. Yeah. Looking back, my dad was a little bit of an enigma and mystery. And as time went on, my parents divorced when I was about age 12.
Oh, okay.
And so that was what precipitated my needing to sell my business, as my parents divorced.
Oh, okay.
And so I was fortunate enough to find someone in their 30s that was a window cleaner that said, you know what, I would love to buy your business, your book of business. And so that's why I always joke my first exit was right around when I was age 12. Wow. And it was out of the fact that I had to move where my mom and dad, where they were separating and going and divorcing. And so we moved away. I moved from the Orange County area to an area near San Diego called Temecula, if anyone is aware of where Temecula, Murrieta are. They're in Southern California. And kind of rinse and repeat, had to kind of build something up from scratch again and do that. And I think part of that, too, is my way in which to kind of deal with the trauma and difficulty of parents divorcing. I was the oldest of 4 kids. Okay. And so I felt part of it was my responsibility to kind of financially take care of the family a little bit.
Yeah, the pressure of kind of being the oldest, right?
Yeah. And so my mom wasn't someone that was going to go out and work. And so it was, it was a tough time because I felt like I had to kind of take on the mantle of what my dad used to do, and at a fairly young age. So I, rather than hanging out with friends and doing some of these things that you would do in your adolescence and enjoy being a kid, I felt like I had to kind of grow up extra fast, which was, looking back, is a little bit frustrating and difficult because it's like, wow, it's kind of like Michael Jackson used to say. He's like, I didn't have a childhood. I was constantly on the stage and performing and working, and that finally caught up with him. And so it's just kind of interesting when I look back at that. Yeah. I'm grateful for a lot of the, I feel like everyone has to do hard things.
Yeah, right.
And by doing those hard things, they grow. And I think it helps us develop into the people that we, where we want to go, I guess you could say. And, but looking back, I wouldn't trade it for what it was. And, but it's, so it's just interesting how everyone has a different journey.
For sure. Yeah. And, I would imagine, at age 9, you've got this business. It probably felt really good. I mean, $20 to $30 an hour is good nowadays even, but I can imagine how that felt. Like as a 9-year-old, you probably thought you were this millionaire. Like, look at the money that's coming in. But I'm sure there's things you learn too that are helping you to this very day. Hard work, believing that you can actually go create something that people want, right? And this kind of opened up the door for you to be like this entrepreneur, right?
Yeah. It was interesting because at the time, and I don't know if everyone felt this way, but I'd have little bouts of depression every time I was going to go out and work. And it was kind of like, oh, okay, this is work, right?
Yeah.
Let's buck up and get moving, right? And meeting and shaking hands with different homeowners and commercial business owners, industrial business owners, and so forth, of taking care of their warehouse windows and climbing up. And some of the things were kind of scary. Like I had kind of had a fear of heights, but I'd be up 2.5 stories on a ladder and crossing my fingers that I didn't lose it. Right.
Yeah. Right.
And fortunately, never had an accident, thank goodness, over all those years. And thank goodness, because, I look at that and go, I could have totally permanently ruined myself following two stories,
For sure.
And, but yeah, it was a great time of my life to be able to do that and feeling like, wow, I've got a lot of cash from my efforts here. And now I can take this money and invest and put it into different vehicles to kind of propel it forward. And so at a young age, I was kind of drawn to that.
Yeah.
There's two things. It was that, and I really liked health.
Yeah.
And I'd grow up on the floor of natural food stores, and I would read the manuals. And so people would be funny. They'd walk by in the aisle, and here's this kid that's probably 12, 13 years old, reading a nutrition book on the floor, learning about the difference between synthetic vitamin E and natural vitamin E, what's the difference there, that type of stuff. And it was just super intriguing for some reason.
Yeah, it just caught your attention.
And so that kind of, little did I know that later that would have kind of an influence on like other things that I would do.
For sure. So you served a mission for 2 years in Mexico, right? And then shortly after you got married.
Yeah.
Now, was this after you started? We're going to talk about your first major company was Arctic Zero.
Yeah.
Was this before Arctic Zero that you went on a mission, married, or was Arctic Zero before that?
So Arctic Zero was after my mission in Mexico.
Gotcha.
And then I met my wife actually about a week to 2 weeks after I got home from Mexico. And I'd never seen her before.
Really?
She lived in the area, but I had never seen her at any type of church function or anything like that. And so it was like everything, kind of like in movies when you see something slow down, and you see it, and it's almost like there was a pillar of light, and the world as we know it disappeared, and it was just us focused on each other.
Yeah.
And so we still, to this day, we know that moment because she had the same moment.
Oh, that's cool.
And so it was super cool. And we started dating, and we were married like a year and a couple of days after that event of meeting for the first time. And but then after that, I had a couple of different things that I was doing at the time. My goal was, after getting home from Mexico, was to buy a house within the first 12 months. And fortunately, I was able to do that in the early 2000s.
Right.
Much, much harder for the average person to do that now, being the real estate market as we know it, especially in California. I was able to buy a modest home.
Right.
And then, because my goal was to take my wife back to a house versus an apartment or something like that. This was something that was different. And but proposed to her in the backyard, actually the day that it closed escrow, which was kind of a fun event.
Two great events right together.
And so that was super fun. But about a year and a half later, I was working with a colleague of mine, and we were eating at a Subway type of a restaurant. It was not Subway, but it was kind of like some sandwich shop.
Yeah, right.
And we're there at lunch. And I said, you know what? And I saw an ice cream machine, and I said, why can't that stuff be healthy? And it's so frustrating, I go to the gym and I crave ice cream afterward, and I'm going to negate everything that I just did in the gym. Why can't that be healthy? And I said, how hard could it be to make a protein-based ice cream? And I said, why not? And so at that point, we kind of went out and he liked the idea too, and we kind of moved through the steps. And bought a frozen yogurt soft serve machine, and started kind of experimenting with some formulas and different things like that. And fast forward a couple of years later, after being in yogurt shops in a few different states, we decided, what, it's a little bit of a hassle and a pain dealing with these yogurt shop owners that were trying to undercut the quality of the product. Even though it was the lowest calorie, lowest carb soft serve in the United States. It was called Carbaway. And so we and it was very popular during the Atkins stuff, as you can imagine.
Oh, yeah.
So it really took off. It was just the right timing.
Yeah.
And we just started having celebrities actually in the Los Angeles area starting to ask these yogurt shop owners if they could start getting this in bulk. Can we buy this in a pint and take it home? And so we thought, you know what? How hard would it be? Well, we'd never put a product into a grocery store, so this was a new thing for us to pioneer. And so we started, and we messed around with the formula and made it fat-free, gluten-free, lactose-free, diabetic-friendly, 150 calories for the entire pint. Protein shake in an ice cream form, basically, that had about 20 grams of whey protein, 8 grams of fiber, and nothing artificial. And you could pronounce every ingredient on the label.
Jeez.
And at the time, nothing
That's
existed
rare.
like it. Yeah. And so we thought, you know what, let's get this into a pint and get it in the stores. But I said, you know what, there's also another issue here. How do you get someone, I think about my wife in this respect, she hates handling anything that's cold. So for her to walk by a refrigerator or a freezer case in a grocery store and open that and grab a pint and then turn it over to read the good things on the back, too many steps there. So I said, what if we took the calorie count and put it on the front of the package so that someone walking by would go, whoa, 150 calories for the entire pint. That's amazing. And then they reach in and we've already captured their attention.
You got them.
And so we were the first ones to ever put calorie counts on the front of a package. And so now you see kind of that aisle, especially now they all do it. And even the big billion-dollar companies are doing it now. And it's like, here we are, this little guy that did it. And so I kind of look at that and go, that's kind of fun. And so we got it into one grocery store to start. And I'll never forget my wife waving a sign for Arctic Zero on a corner somewhere.
Did you have to pay her?
Yeah, right. She was just such a good sport about it.
Awesome.
And so my business partner in there, slinging pints, and having people try it. And some people would spit it out in front of us, and we're like, oh, and they tell us this is not going to do anything. And then others are like, wow, this is a godsend for my situation. I'm a diabetic or I'm lactose intolerant and whatnot. And in fact, one of the people that was really happy that we came up with this was actually out of the Mayo Clinic, some of the physicians. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention their name, but she's a billionaire heiress that owns a significant brand, an Italian brand that was going through a difficult time. And this is what actually kept her alive.
Really?
And so it was kind of cool to hear that.
Yeah.
But we got the product into one store, then in 100 grocery stores, then in 1,000 grocery stores, and then 10,000, then 18,000 grocery stores nationwide.
That's amazing.
And it became the number 3 best-selling pint in the freezer aisle of grocery stores.
That is incredible.
It was Häagen-Daz, Ben & Jerry's, then us, Arctic Zero.
No way.
And so it was
amazing.
Super fun. And we had a few people before there was a name for them as influencers that helped propel our brand, and we didn't even know it. They would just talk about it. And all of a sudden, then Dr. Oz, we were on the Dr. Oz show twice, and Amazon ranked it as the 57th best-selling food item out of 550,000 food items.
I mean, that is amazing.
And so it was fun. It was a great, great ride to kind of get it up and running. I always liken it to my kids. Your kids come into the world and you're helping them crawl and then to walk and then to run and to thrive.
Yes.
And that's kind of how
you kind of the same pattern.
Yeah. And so it was just super fun. At the time, I thought I loved it. Looking back, I think it was one of those things where I liked it.
Yeah.
But, times in your life you go through and learn and stub your toe and then go, okay, I'm learning these new skills that I didn't have before. And so I feel like a culmination of the events that I've done to date have kind of prepared me to get to this point in my life, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. Wow, what an incredible thing though, to be number 3. I mean, and I've worked with my dad and my brother in the grocery store industry. And that's a tough place to be, man. It's a very competitive, very hard to get into a store, first of all.
Yeah.
But what a great story. And it goes back to, you kind of had this same kind of attitude when you were 9 years old. I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. So I like how you just kind of push forward and keep going.
It's, what's interesting is we had a lot of people that told us no. Oh, you can't make a protein-based ice cream made from whey protein.
Yeah.
This is how you have to do this. And these are food scientists telling us that we could not make a product like this. And then those that said we could try also told us, well, it's not going to be successful because you're not going to be able to make it taste good. You're not going to be able to. And I said, you know what? I'm not trying to pull the Häagen-Daz or Ben & Jerry's clientele. I said, this is for the 10% of the market that would love to enjoy this, but they can't, and they don't want to have to deal with sugar alcohols and artificial ingredients and things that are going to actually wreak havoc on their body. I said, I want to create this small niche in the market. And a lot of these big companies, billion-dollar companies, they're a lot of times looking for these pioneering brands. To spend the time, energy, and money because they don't want to do anything innovative or disruptive.
Exactly.
They're just going to stick with the status quo. And so at the time, it worked out great because there was no products like that on the market. Now you look at it now and you've got Halo tops and having they called me up once and they said, hey, and they kind of wanted to ask us questions about our product. And I had to kindly tell them, sorry, I'm not going to build our competition and give you the answers to the test, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
And so then you've got all the other brands, Wink and So Delicious that came out with their products, and all these other ones that started kind of working in that same space. And but no, it's just interesting. At the beginning we were pretty quiet; no one could see who we were, and then eventually we had a target on our back. And which is to be said, if we're taking away profit share from them and we're starting to get penetration in the market, that's just how it happens. But now you've got this really cool area in the freezer case that now has appeal. Yeah. And my joke was I said I wanted to create a pint that you could eat to answer your 10 o'clock sweet tooth. Yeah. Eat it today and look better tomorrow type of thing. Ooh, I like that. Because as you eat, basically I used to say, what you eat in private shows in public. And so it was one of those things where, I remember talking at a Weight Watchers clinic once, and women were getting really excited over the fact that they could eat this entire pint and it was only 3 points for them. And, they just loved the fact that they could get the satiety from what they were eating and it wasn't going to affect them. And I said, hey, you know what? You break up with your boyfriend, you start eating a pint of ice cream, and they're going to wish they were still with you tomorrow because you're going to look so much better than you did, love that. Type of thing. Yeah. And so it was kind of a running joke and that we loved, but I loved it. It was satisfying a need in the market. And I kind of like to raise a little bit of eyebrows about something. And so that was a fun time, and we would get pictures and videos and different celebrities and you name it from around the United States that would talk about being able to eat something as simple as ice cream. And I'm like, wow, these are people that are gushing about a food product. It was just kind of funny to think about, but at the same time, it was satisfying a need that some people had. But anyway, had a great exit from that. Had a CEO that I had grown up with in junior high that had a financial background. And I said, you know what? I want to build this the right way so that we can have a successful exit from the company. And so I convinced him to leave a very lucrative $400,000 a year job to work for peanuts and a lot of equity in the company. And we had already sparked it. We were already in stores nationwide. Yeah, right. And so now I just said, okay, you take this and run with it so I can focus more on the marketing hat and the sales hat and a few things like that. And it just continued to thrive. And
that's incredible.
Had a good exit. And that's about it.
So cool. So cool. Well, man, you are doing a lot of great things. And, this all leads up to what I really wanted to get into today with you is Kajae.
Oh.
Your amazing company where you're helping people all over the world, and I love it. But I think what I want to start off with is, how did you come up with the name Kajae?
That's my wife and I used to always joke that it would be great if we could take the names of our kids and do something fun with it. Create a business and just maybe it sits on a shelf for a while and we do something with it. And so I thought, how great would it be? So kind of experimented with a few letters, and we've got 5 kids.
Yeah.
And so it's Kate, Ariana, Jack, Alexa, and Ethan. And the bookends, Ethan's my 18-year-old. He's the oldest.
Yeah.
And then Kay is our youngest, Kate.
Okay.
She's 7. And it just kind of worked together. And it's a 5-letter domain. And you can't really find those anymore. If it's, even misspellings, you can't really find it. And so I came up with this name and hadn't done much with it for a while.
Yeah.
And started deciding on, what I might be able to do with it. And it'd be fun. And come to find out later that in Jamaican, the word Kajae means gift from God. And I thought,
really?
Wow, I lucked out.
Really?
And so here we've got a name. It's a 5-letter domain. It's the names of my kids, and it has this meaning in Jamaican, gift from God. And I thought, wow, I don't believe in coincidences. Everything is inspired. Something's, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, I agree.
And, but, I had spent a lot of time in Latin America, living there, and spent a lot of time in the Philippines. Did a lot of import and export out of Asia, so I found myself in travels there a lot. And I always think the Philippines is the Mexico of Asia.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of similarities between Mexico and the Philippines. And I think one of the main things is, I think of the Philippines as the country of smiles. Everybody is happy and warm and inviting and incredibly poor. More so, I think, than most of Mexico. But you've got the biggest hearts in the Philippines compared to other parts of the world.
Yeah.
I always thought, man, it would be so amazing to do something involving those in the Philippines. And what a lot of people don't know is that in the Philippines, besides having one of the highest populations of homelessness, like a lot of people don't know this, but the Philippines has 3.2 million people that live on the street.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So here in Utah, we think, okay, well, we've got 800 people. Now imagine the entire state of Utah, 3.2 million homeless.
Homeless, wow.
Living in a city. And of those 3.2, you've got 1.2 million that are kids under the age of 10. So you look at that, and it's tremendous. We've got it so good here in the United States. Don't we? And so it's, there's a lot of people in the Philippines, most of which have bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, some that have advanced degrees like PhDs, MBAs. And they've got a multitude of experience working for major corporations. And their English is like yours and mine. Right. One of the benefits of us being in the Philippines during World War II is everyone was able to, that American influence with English has been a huge help for the country. And so you've got this trifecta of English, skills, and education. I thought, this is a perfect fit for some of the needs that employers have here in the United States. So rather than dealing, and I hate to say it this way, crybaby Americans that are saying, well, I just graduated from college, I demand $100,000 a year, and I want free massages on Fridays. You've got folks that say, you know what, I would just love to be able to feed my family and have more than 4 things in the refrigerator. And so rather than food insecurity, this is a way in which that they can change their stars, to use a phrase from one of my favorite movies. Right. And so I thought, how great would it be if we could do something I call conscious capitalism, where you've got the focus being on the individuals in your company and changing their lives from a social impact standpoint. And I thought, you know what I would like to do, and I want KJ to stand for, is paying them a living wage, but more than a living wage. So we pay everyone on our team 5 to 10 times more than a daily living wage in their respective country. So it catapults them from poverty to middle class in less than 2 months. And fortunately, we've been able to do it for 100% of everyone on our team within that 60 days.
Yeah.
And so because I thought, you know what, you've got all these charitable organizations, but they do it, I feel like, sometimes incredibly slow. Maybe they're trying to perpetuate their charity, and so they stretch it out. But I thought a generation is far too long.
Far too long, yeah.
And so it's got to be something quicker than that. And so we said, you know what, but let's not stop there. Let's provide the top medical and dental in their country, what the 1%ers basically get in those countries. And then we give them a snack allowance. We give them access to free mental health. We have a clinical psychologist with a PhD. So from a mental health standpoint, anytime, depression, anxiety, something that they're dealing with a trauma, you name it, that they and their families can access free mental health from someone that is incredibly educated at no cost as often as they need. And then, we did a few other things like providing vacations, incentives, bonuses, providing, we created something called Kajae Kids, which is a scholarship endowment type of program that we put together. So for the children of anyone that's at Kajae, they can now afford to go to a private school, for example, to kind of, again, to propel the next generation forward. And so, always looking for some fun things that we can do. Because, again, my number one focus is them.
Yeah.
And I know if that they feel good about what they do and they feel secure and they know that they can be vulnerable and they're in a safe environment, they'll pull out the stops from a performance standpoint for their client.
Yeah.
And then the client is happy with KJ because they've got this amazing person, and it's a circle.
Yep.
And so I thought, that is my focus, kind of like the Southwest approach to customers first.
Yeah, right.
And that's been the goal. And I found that because of that, our attrition rate, losing somebody, is less than 2%, which means our clients here in the United States, it's 2% as well.
Yeah.
And so they are now able to afford hiring 3 or 4 of our people, our amazing team members, as opposed to hiring just one American.
Yeah.
And we, they pay us a flat rate, and we take care of the compensation and the benefits and everything. And they have someone that reports to work every day, 40 hours a week in the trenches, and they're not dealing with payroll tax, workers' comp, and the absenteeism that is prevalent, it seems like, here in the U.S. And so it fills a need across the board. And so anyway, I love it. I thought I loved ice cream. My kids used to say, Dad's an ice cream man, I always say, you know what, maybe I'm ringing the bell a little bit too loud, right? But I love what I do now. It's just, I'll get an email or a Zoom request to talk to someone from the team, and they'll just show me a before and after picture of they didn't have a bed before, and now they have a bed.
That was my first conversation with you. I was going to bring that up, is some of these people don't even have a bed. But yet when they use them to help them work, they end up buying a bed, and to them that is like the greatest thing that's ever happened to them.
It's
wow.
A bed. I mean, we're complaining about whether or not we have high-speed internet, or that we got the right food product that was out of stock in the grocery store. This is Sarah out of Venezuela, and so a lot of people don't know this, but Venezuela was one of the wealthiest nations. In fact, they were the wealthiest nation in all of Latin America. And then you've got a socialist dictator that gets into place. And it's gone by the wayside instantaneously. And it's happened in less than a generation that they went from the wealthiest to one of the poorest. And so here she is. I feel as though talent is broadly spread across the earth, but opportunity is not. Yeah. And so by providing that opportunity for her, I apologize for getting kind of choked up.
No, you're good. Don't apologize. You're good.
Going from not having a bed to having a bed is traumatic. I mean, can you imagine?
I can't even.
So
it's unbelievable.
So seeing these pictures, I mean, we've got members of the team that have furniture for the first time, in addition to some of those things.
Wow.
But there was someone I remember talking to. he was a pastor of his local congregation in the Philippines, and he said, I used to have to get on a bus, multiple buses, and spend about 2 hours bringing people to church, before church and his various different meetings every Sunday. And I thought, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And so then he reached out to me. He said, Garrett, I was able to buy a car for the first time. And he said, basically, that same thing that used to take about 2 hours, now it takes just 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
So
it's amazing.
So it's those types of things.
Wow.
And I apologize.
Don't apologize.
That are tremendous. And so when I say crybaby Americans, that's what I mean. It's like we all take it for granted. Yeah. Everyone feels like they're entitled to have a car, and everyone's entitled to have all these different things. But I think we've gotten away because of consumerism to think that we're confusing wants and needs significantly. Yeah, and right. We've become, I have to have the latest AirPods and the latest iPhone because, dang it, I deserve it, and I should have it. And it's like, wow, it's just, we've got a rude awakening coming, I feel like, here in the United States, because you've got this global,
something's coming.
You've got this global workforce that wants to work. They want an opportunity. And now, and I think it's one of the few blessings of COVID, if you could say there's a blessing there, of it's taught us that we can work remote, that we can do things from afar, that we don't have to punch a clock in person. Yeah. And so now it's opened the world to opportunity.
Wow. That's beautiful. Well, I want my listeners to know that I use your services. We are working with someone there in the Philippines that's helping me, build my business, and she's fantastic. And just positive, grateful.
Very grateful.
And it chokes me up too to think, the stuff I sometimes find myself complaining about, and it's like, why am I complaining about it? I mean, here's this woman who is making pretty good money in her standards now. And she is like, it's like Christmas morning for her every day. And anyway, so I'm so impressed with what you're doing there with KJ, and it truly is a gift from God. I mean, it truly is. And that's really what you're providing for them down there. And not only for her, but the gift she is to my company.
Yeah.
Like, she's on top of things. She's smart. She's, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just so good. The flow of it's going amazing. So I just want my listeners to know I'm using your services, and it's great.
Yeah. And, it's interesting. Because Leah, she is, I use her name because she's just.
I didn't know if I could say her name.
No, you're fine. She's amazing.
She really is.
She's been with us. I always call her a KJ original. She's been with us from the very beginning. Yeah. And she is she's outstanding, above and beyond. And you nailed it when you said grateful.
Oh, yeah.
So grateful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, how long have you been doing KJ now? When did you start it?
It's funny. We've got about 15 months under our belt.
Nice.
So we're super, super young still.
Yeah.
But kind of like, and I hate saying we're staffing and recruitment or VA, because I feel like those are just very blasé.
Yeah.
Even VA, I feel like, is so impersonal because there's so many companies that do that.
Yeah. But
they pay their I call everyone on our team family members, because that's how we look at them.
I love it.
But a lot of these companies are paying a very poor wage because they're trying to capitalize on these margins and personally enriching themselves beyond measure. It's unbelievable. And so it's just astounding to me. And so I wanted to figure out a way to disrupt just this sector of the economy, to show that, wow, you can have someone amazing to be part of your team, pay them tremendously well, change their lives, and you as a company also get to benefit tremendously more than if you were hiring somebody domestic.
Absolutely.
And it sounds bad to say, it was like, well, you're outsourcing, and it's like, you know what? unemployment's at a record low, and it's really hard to find amazing talent. Now you've got an opportunity to find that amazing talent to satisfy that need. I mean, I talk to businesses here in Silicon Slopes here in Utah on a regular basis that are in tech, and they say, you know what, we're having a really hard time filling this full stack developer role. You know, we've been working for 4 months trying to find the right person for this. And I said, well, what if I can get you 3 of your dream hires in less than a week? And they're like, that's impossible. And so that's what we'll do, is we find those 3 top hires for them that they can vet and decide if they want to move forward with them. And it's just such a blessing for every party involved. And I just love doing it. And so it's kind of, how do we disrupt this marketplace, showing that you've got amazing people that want to change their lives, and they're willing and they want to work.
Yeah. Wow. It's amazing. You obviously have this, entrepreneurship running through your veins. I know you're doing this. This is your passion. You obviously love it. You can just see it in you. You get emotional around it. Do you have anything on the horizon, like something that are you always thinking of new ideas? Are you always, do you got stuff that's brewing that you could maybe share a little bit with us?
Yeah, so I love that. So Kajae is actually a catalyst for what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
So my business partner, Rob McMillan, he's got a background in venture capital. And he's very smart, very financially savvy. And so we've always connected on a lot of different levels. And when I decided I wanted to move forward with Kajae, we were talking about it one day, and he says, Garrett, I would love to be a part of that. And so then we joined forces and we created the company. And but part of what we created was thinking with kind of the end in mind. And so the goal, I read 2 books that I really love, and I would recommend to anyone if they want to read a book that will change their lives. There's 2 books by Clayton Christensen, who is, for anyone that's not aware, he went to Oxford for his undergrad, and then got his master's, his MBA from Harvard Business School, and later became an economics professor there at Harvard. But in addition to that, he was also an entrepreneur, and he was a family man, and he was someone that was really good at balancing all of those. But the focus, of course, was on his family first, which is great to have that as the priority.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of rare at his level to be that way. And so he wrote these 2 books that I thought were super influential in my life, were incredibly influential. One was The Prosperity Paradox, about how to basically lift people out of poverty, and kind of talks a little bit about why some of these charities have not done what they've proposed that they were going to do.
Yeah.
And then in addition, he also wrote a book that I love. It's called How Will You Measure Your Life? And those 2 books were like the impetus to put this together. And so I thought, okay, well, how great would it be for the interim to create a company that could lift people out of poverty, but at the same time, do it in a way where all the stakeholders involved could benefit. And again, kind of going back to conscious capitalism.
Yeah.
And because I feel like that is the driver. You have everyone that can benefit from this opportunity, and I wanted to basically make available. For example, in the Prosperity Paradox, he talks about, and I spent time in Mexico, and one of the big companies there is Bimbo Bakeries. Funny name, but it's lifted a lot of the infrastructure as we know it in Mexico today: roads, electricity, water, internet, just logistics as we know it because of that one company.
Yeah.
Udo Noodles did it in Africa. Samsung and LG did it in South Korea. I mean, and the names go on. And I thought, it'd be great to take a lot of the revenue that's generated from Kajae and set it aside so that we can start investing in the brilliance in these respective countries.
Yeah.
You've got all the countries in Latin America. You've got 54 countries in Africa. You've got you got 7,500 islands in the Philippines. And so being able to find these individuals that have amazing and excellent education, maybe they went to a top school, an Ivy League school,
right.
and they get back and they've got amazing experience, but they don't have the funding to take their idea to the next level. Well, the goal is enter Rob and myself and a few other select individuals here in Silicon Slopes, and we are able to put money into an account, $100,000, $50,000, something that moves the needle for them to now create a company. And then now we're able to multiply our efforts. So, if we have a couple hundred members on our team, that's significant. But if we can have a company that can now have 1,000, 10,000, 20,000 individuals, now there's jobs in these countries. It lifts the community and infrastructure like it's never been done before. And on our level, it's too small. KJ's, even if we get up to, say, 2,000, 3,000 individuals, but having these multiple opportunities spread across the Philippines, Africa, Latin America, where they're lifting where they can stand for the first time. That's the goal. That's the driver. So I'm kind of looking at it like China does in dynasties. I'm looking at it in, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now. I still have gas. Hopefully in 30 years, I still have gas in the tank. But,
right.
that we're able to help them lift where they stand, create, like I said before, the LGs and Samsungs of those worlds. Look at Honda. Honda was in the same situation, a very small brand, and then look at them today. And so, a lot of people don't know this, but South Korea is one of the poorest nations in all of Asia. Now look at them. They're a thriving metropolis.
Yeah.
And so being able to do that same thing with that perspective, because we can literally change the infrastructure and change the societies by it's just simple enough as a good paying job.
Wow, so cool. Well, I love that vision of where you're headed, and I think you'll do it. You've been successful since you were 9. It's pretty incredible. There's a lot to talk about, but I want to, if someone's listening to your voice right now, and I know this is kind of a tangent a little bit, but if there's someone listening to you right now, Garrett, that's struggling on some level, whether it's with mental health issue, addiction, or trying to find their way, trying to start their own business, whatever it may be, you've already given some really good advice, but what advice would you give that one person right now who's listening who may be in that mindset or that place in their life right now?
Wow, great question. For me, and I'm thinking about when I was in kind of those dark moments where you're discouraged and or maybe you're surrounding yourself with people that are not moving in the direction that they should be, and that kind of rubs off on them onto you. But again, we always hear it, and I don't mean it for it to be cliche about surrounding yourself with positive, upbeat, good people. But there's going to be people that, it sounds so bad to say this, but there's a lot of people that are rooting for your failure so that they can feel good.
Yeah.
And those aren't the right people to be around.
Yeah.
Sometimes they see your success and they're envious or angry that you have success, thinking that, oh, wow, you just got lucky. And I used to always say luck is the what was the phrase I used to use back in the day? Luck is a lazy man's excuse for not putting in the work.
Yeah, wow.
And it's just one of those things. It's, maybe it's hard to wake up in the mornings and get out there. And sometimes you're like, oh man, I can't deal with the world today.
Yeah.
And you want to stay in bed. And I wish there was a way. I wish there was a quick fix to say, okay, well, just get out of bed, because a lot of people are like, well, I'm depressed or I'm scared to face the world because of anxiety. And I don't know what the magic pill is, but sometimes it's just, you have to kind of reach deep and go, you know what, I just have to change something up. I have to change my routine. I got to get out of this funk and figure something out. And I think one of those main things is surrounding yourself with just good, uplifting people and doing good things. Like this reminds me of, there's a couple of books that I really like. Atomic Habits is a great one.
Yeah, it's a great book. Yeah, that's a really
another
good
one that I really love is, what is the name? I'm drawing a blank right now. But one of the things that he says in this book is, it's the compound effect.
Okay.
Small changes add up tremendously. But surrounding yourself with good people, because he says you're the average of your 5 closest relationships.
Yeah.
So if we're surrounding ourselves with some downers and some...
You're the average of all that.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, and I feel like that is probably one of the best things that you can do. You can still be friends with them, but maybe you don't spend as much time with them.
Exactly.
But I think a lot of times because someone sees you being positive and uplifting, that you can actually be that cause for good in their lives and hopefully getting them to that next level and maybe raising them up because you're a good influence and example.
Yeah.
But
I love that.
I don't know, I hope that answered your
No,
question.
it did. That was beautifully answered. Thank you for sharing that. If someone wanted to reach out to you, Garrett, and get to know more about you or ask you a question or know more about KJ, what would be the best way, or again, even to use those services, what would be the best way for them to do that?
So I'm contemplating whether I put my email out there for 400,000 individuals to reach out to me. And I've been in that situation before with Arctic Zero, where we put out our contact information and then instantly we started getting 20 visits to our website per second.
Yeah, wow.
And that was for like several days.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine that inbox got crazy. But if someone is looking for someone brilliant to help with their organization, reach out to sales@kj.com. Now, if they're looking they want to reach out to me directly, and I'm knocking on wood here that I set myself up. They can reach out to me directly at Garrett Blood @kj.com. And I answer everything.
Thank you.
I answer everything that comes to my inbox. So this is not going to be pawned off to somebody else. Sure. But yeah, if I can be a resource for anyone or point them in the right direction, and it doesn't have to have anything to do with KJ. If there's anything I can do for them, they can feel free to reach out.
Wow. Well, thanks for being willing to share that. Hopefully you don't get, blasted with a bunch of stuff, but no, I really appreciate that. And I gotta honestly say, I love the way you carry yourself. I love the way you live your life. We know mutual people that know each other, each of us, right? And the way they talk about you and the way they say all the good you're doing in the world. I'm grateful to be sitting here with you today live, and it means a lot to me. So thank you for being a light in this world that we need so much right now.
Oh, wow. Thanks. That's so nice to say. And I mean, and
that's truly from my heart. I really mean that. Like, it's awesome to see what you're doing.
Wow. No, I appreciate that. And I'm grateful that you've got a resource to help people on a regular basis with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Given your level of experience. Todd inspires. I love the inspires component there because that is something that we need tremendously.
Yeah.
And I, especially in this 24-hour news cycle of a world that focuses on all the negative and things that are wrong in the world, creating contention on a regular basis so that they can create relevance for themselves is just frustrating. So it's so great that you've got positivity and impact when it comes to mental health and furthering things along for people.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I appreciate that. And again, I love having guests like you coming on and sharing your story. This is what makes this great, because, this is why I do what I do, is for people to know We don't have to worry about what's going on in the news so much, but listen to what people are actually doing, despite if you think the world's maybe going in the wrong direction. There's a lot of good going on.
Yeah.
And Garrett, you're one of those people that is making that happen. So,
well, thank you. Thanks for saying that. That's so nice.
Well, thanks for spending some time with me today.
Absolutely.
It means a lot. And I'm sure our listeners now are going, man, that was awesome. And it was awesome for me to sit here with you.
Oh,
yeah.
Thanks. It was great. And anything I can do to help, just let me know.
Will do. Well, there you go, folks. Thanks for tuning in once again. Garrett Blood, everybody. Check out the things that he's doing. And you can also reach out to me. I'm happy to relay any message to him as well. But I'm grateful for all of you. Thank you for believing in me, and thank you for sharing this with people. It really does mean a lot, and we're making a lot of headway in helping people who are struggling. So thank you so much. I love you. Thanks again to my sponsors and for the beautiful music by Paul Cardall. I love you. Until next time.